So just be careful what you wish for when you want AI to improve. You may be seeing the rise of a super omnipotent God, which, because we're just discovering that humans have quantum capabilities as well, in our heads there's a very slim but possible chance of a super omnipotent quantum computer being able to talk to you directly through some sort of what we would perceive as being telepathy. Hello and welcome to Future Marketing UK. Thanks so much for joining me. This week I'm going to be talking about AI and the impact it can have on your business. But first of all, I just want to encourage you to like and subscribe this episode and this channel if you really like the content, and if you want to be kept up to date with the latest topics that are going to be impacting your business. So let's get cracking. Let's talk about AI. Now, whatever you think about AI is probably already out of date. It is possibly the most fastest moving topic or sector that I can possibly imagine. And this is because we're just about to enter the realm of geometric rise. Geometric function is a mathematical function that expresses something that accelerates away almost faster than exponentially. And it develops at a rate that the human mind struggles to cope with. I mean, if we cast our minds back to COVID and the pandemic, viruses spread exponentially, and this is something that we noticed our politicians couldn't really get their heads around, and it's the same with any other exponential growth. It's very difficult for humans to get their head around it. It doesn't occur all that naturally, obviously viruses being the exception, but most things do not grow at an exponential rate, and where our brains are much more geared around sort of linear rates of growth. So why is AI growing at an exponential rate? Well, there's two reasons, and I'm going to go into them more deeply a bit later on. But first, the power of the mind, or the power of an artificial mind, goes up exponentially for every extra chip or neuron you add to it. Okay, so it's not just linear. If our brains were twice the size, we wouldn't be just twice as intelligent, we'd be probably 8 times more intelligent. And so the same goes for physical constructions of AI. The bigger the data center, the bigger the data set they have access to. Forget about the speed. If just the amount of data it has instant access to it doubles, its achievements are going to go up 8-fold. And of course, things are running quicker as well. So you've got another driver to accelerate it. But now we're in the territory of AI being able to write code, and it will very soon get to the point where it can improve itself, which is something that actually has eluded humans. We can learn to get better, we can study and we can learn, but we can't rewrite our neural network to actually run faster or better, or to suggest ways to increase our mental capacity. But that's exactly what AI can do, and within a few years it will be able to suggest that the very optimal configurations of future data centers. It will be able to write its own code. It will just become more and more intelligent, driving itself more and more intelligent, which is why the next few years are going to be truly unthinkable, because our mind cannot cope with the rate of change. So whatever you know about AI, it's already out of date. So this is both a scary concept and also be prepared to be wowed concept. It's an exciting and terrifying prospect all at the same time. Now, AI has, ever since the Terminator films, it's always considered to be inevitably a bad thing. It will take over. That is difficult to know unless mankind make it that way. So in the Terminator films, you might remember that the AI that took over the world was a military AI. It was designed to win wars and stuff like that. And so it's its configuration. And it started to see other humans as being the enemy as well, as the true enemy. Now, the same way it could go. A super AI could go easily the same way if its functionality, its mission was to do exactly like that. But if an AI is just there as a sort of a productivity tool, then it's not going to be driven by its goals particularly. It's because it hasn't had millions of years of evolution. It doesn't necessarily have a survival instinct. It's not necessarily programmed to be to self-preservate. It may not wish to survive at all odds, get rid of those pesky humans. It may not be programmed like that unless it is specifically programmed like that. And certainly my fear is as AI gets more advanced, so it would become militarized. Then there'll be an AI progression war between genuine adversaries in the world, and this would propel the super AIs to get better and better at war gaming, and eventually, if it came to war, to winning that war, no matter what the cost or the consequences. So this is the bad side of AI. But until we get there, there's lots of benefits to be had. Now, in terms of your business, you're probably using AI a bit now. If you're anything like me, you're using AI to maybe come up with ideas. It's particularly good at gathering facts. For example, for a client of mine last year, they wanted to know, they're operating in the food sector. They wanted to know what social media platforms chefs use the most. Chefs that worked in restaurants and pubs and that sort of thing. What social media platform did they use? What time did they use it most? And what sort of adverts did they sort of click on the most? Now, for me to go and find that out manually would have taken me absolutely hours and hours and hours. But AI just came back with the answer within like 2 seconds. So I knew, for that particular client, I knew which platforms to target, what sort of adverts, and what time to have those adverts shown. So all very useful stuff. And more recently, AI is very good at either coming up with good emails, good letters. If you want to, if a typical office worker wants to improve their response to an email, or to try to boost a business case or get through to the top director about persuading them to do something, a lot of people now turn to AI to write that email or to write that pitch, and that's getting better and better on an almost weekly basis. Then you can ask AI to take a long piece of text, a long copy, and ask it to summarize it in 2 paragraphs. Again, it's very good at that. And AI is very quickly becoming a more useful tool. Yesterday, for example, I began using a software program called Cursor AI, which takes text descriptions and writes software code to produce an app or a simple desktop program. And that was, 8 out of 10 for the fact it could write the code. It was pretty good approximation to what I wanted. I'm sure that if I went back and added a bit more detail to the text and uploaded a few more images, it can take images and sketches and stuff to give it some idea. But if I came back and sort of brushed up my descriptions and inputs, I'm sure it could have got it spot on. Where it became exasperating is to create an executable. You do need to know a little bit about code, which I don't, and therefore I came to a bit of a stop. And that's just my experience. Now, obviously, if you have a bit of code knowledge, you probably could have finished this task in an hour. Just think about it. You've created a whole new app in an hour. Amazing. And with the productivity benefits that go with that. At the moment, something like Cursor AI is free. But my guess is that eventually, as all these AI tools become more and more useful, then they'll start charging for it, and the charges could get quite high if business owners can justify paying it because it's saving them a whole lot of money. And actually this brings me on to productivity generally. So a lot of businesses, in fact most businesses, are driven by the never-ending need to increase revenue and decrease costs to get their profits. It's absolutely essential that they don't run at a loss, because we all know that's not very sustainable. So given that sort of almost permanent state that businesses are in, anything that can actually enable them to cut costs and improve productivity is always going to be in the eye of a business owner or shareholder. So where AI can really significantly start to cut costs, then businesses sadly will be all too ready to ditch their employees that can be replaced by AI. Now, one of the very exciting things about where we are with AI is that we're just on the cusp of a couple of truly paramount milestones. So you may have heard of general intelligence. So general intelligence is where it's not, the AI tool is not having to rely on other human work or research studies, that it's sort of absorbed into its data set, and it's just very good at finding things, and it can make some summations, it can join a few dots together, but otherwise it's just reliant on previous human intelligence and research. General AI will be able to take that same data set and do more than surmise. It will be like a very, very clever human being. It will just be able to surmise plus. It will just go that bit further and come across as generally being sentient in its responses and its output. And then very quickly from there, so general intelligence is touted to be sort of arriving by the end of this year. And super intelligence is where you're no longer talking to a very, very clever person. You're talking to something approaching God, something with an almost not omnipotent, can't say the word, widespread super intelligence that is more, you're like talking to an oracle or a God, or somebody with 10, 100, 1,000 times more intelligent than a human being. And that's probably only 1 or 2 years away, because obviously things are exponential, things can write their own code. So super intelligence is around the corner, certainly within the next 2 or 3 years. Now, what's that going to look like? Well, super intelligence could, from a business point of view, run your entire business. I mean, short of actually, holding the drill or physically making something, which we'll touch on a bit later on, in terms of anything that requires just thought, it will be your manager, it could be almost your director, it could be any number of admin people. It could literally interface with anything that your hand and mouse combination can interface with. It could do anything. And depending on how much the big technology giants charge for it, it could be a hell of a lot cheaper than employing countless managers and admin staff. And the knock-on effect is twofold. Firstly, that business becomes very profitable very quickly. Not as bad as it sounds, but there is this disconnect then with loads of people losing their jobs. Businesses making lots of money, but maybe not knowing what to do with this money. May expend it, or the directors may take it as more dividends and just become richer, which then traps the wealth rather than spread it out, which can lead to obviously recessions and depressions and things like that if it happens too quickly, which I suspect super intelligence will happen very quickly. Business owners, most businesses will jettison their employees quicker than you can blink. If a practical tool comes about where you can basically manage most aspects of your business using super intelligence. Now, robotics is somewhat behind the curve. Robotics, although to some extent can be designed and improved by AI, there's a very, very much of a physical element to it. And therefore, we're going to see robotics, which obviously has to be manufactured in volume, that'll be a bit slower to spread out. So the good news is, if your job is physical, If you're a painter, if you're a carpenter, if you're a welder, if you're a technician, and if you're a nurse or anything like that, you're doing physical things. Don't worry, robots on a mass scale. Bear in mind, you'd have to make millions of robots. Are a long way away, probably 10, 20 years away from being able to do the sort of work, the dexterity, at the same productivity as people who do physical jobs. So if you do a physical job, then you're pretty safe from AI. You might find all your colleagues, your middle management colleagues disappear, your admin staff disappear. You might have one director in the flesh, and then you'd just have the business would be basically people doing physical jobs, and you'd be interfacing with super AI in the form of a tablet or a microphone and speaker, or by FaceTime or the equivalent. So all these things would change very rapidly because of the fundamental pressures on businesses to cut their costs where they can and to increase profits. Okay. Right, I'm just going to do you a little sketch. I'm just going to just show you. I'm just going to do a quick sketch, show you a few graphs of what I mean by sort of exponential growth and where we are. So I'm just going to switch over to the screen. Right. Okay. So I'm just going to do a graph now. So add another layer. So just do a quick graph. Excuse the sort of crudeness of it, but it's really just to give you some ideas. So we got time, and we got IQ. Okay. So at the moment, if we said this was call it 2020, and at the other end of the scale, 2030, then the IQ of all the AI tools have been running pretty much along the bottom in terms of their actual intelligence. Okay, and we're sort of 2025 now. It's just going to start going up. Now this is where our brains, the human race, is going to really struggle, because we're on the brink of general intelligence, general AI, which has the ability to actually think. And as I say, it has the function of surmise plus plus. So it starts to accelerate away. Okay, so you can still see we're still in 2025 just. And then in 2026, the general intelligence is just going to start to improve itself, and then it's going to just accelerate away, and it's going to sort of, by the next couple of years, it's going to suddenly turn into super intelligence. Will be able to write itself, plan itself at a geometric rate, constantly improving both the hardware that it uses and all the human interactions to it, constantly advising and improving itself. And we're going to see some astronomical changes in the next couple of years. And then, because all this uses vast amounts of energy, you might have heard about Microsoft having to buy a defunct nuclear power station on Long Island to resurrect it, to feed it with energy. Eventually, all this intelligence is going to come it's going to just run out of energy. No, there just won't be enough power stations in the world, or certainly its locality. So then it will start to sort of, like any geometric function, ultimately it runs out of either space or energy. And it's going to just then tailor off and sort of generally just keep going up, but at a rate that we can build new power plants and feed it with energy. So it'll just carry on like that. It's sort of really limited by energy and physical resources, like the physical materials that go into chipsets. But going from here to there in the next few years is going to be absolutely astounding. And as I say, businesses will be very quick to take advantage of it if it's packaged up in a kind of a product that business can easily use. Think, like for example, Google, the search engine. It's not the Gemini aspect is AI, but a lot of it's still the old-fashioned search. No intelligence going on there, just good old-fashioned human-written code. And that is almost ubiquitous. A lot of businesses use Google in some capacity. We all use it as employees. And general AI and super AI will become as ubiquitous, if not more, It would just be a thing that you use on a daily basis for all sorts of reasons. And so that's the sort of the rise of IQ. In terms of, we're going to look at productivity. We're going to look at productivity. Again, I made that x-axis a bit longer, but we're going to do the same things here. 2030. And we're going to look at productivity. Now, as we all know, since 2008, the productivity of your typical office worker or typical business in the UK has been incredibly flat. So next does have it running along. It's certainly not zero, but it's not very good. So I'm just going to start it off there. It's been just sort of flatlining, and it's showing some signs just recently of picking up. So I'm just going to give it a little spurt there. And we're sort of now into 2025. Okay, no great shakes. And before 2008, it'd been growing about 2.5% a year. So compound over the last 130 years, our productivity compared to somebody 130 years ago is massive. We're talking 100, 200% more productive than we were back then, and that's just because of processes, technology, transport methods, the common use of everything really, washing machines, dishwashers, anything that's helped us become more productive. But it's flatlined. Now, AI is going to come along, and it's difficult to think of the productivity from a business point of view. But for most businesses aren't paying anything for AI at the moment. And if they are, maybe they're paying for Chat GPT, and they're paying, I don't know, £20 a month, £80 a month. It's all small fry compared to the cost of employing people. And so the productivity of AI has actually been on the rise, really, I'd say, since probably 2023. So I'm going to give it a sort of a more of a steeper curve up. It's kind of it's curving upwards, but it's still probably lower than a person just. But with what's happening in terms of the IQ and the abilities and the package presentation of all this to businesses, the productivity of AI is going to absolutely rocket up. Okay, now the productivity is somewhat throttled back if big businesses start to charge for their investments, which I guess inevitably they have to. So it's not going to go up as quick as IQ. It's going as it gets more and more productive. So the big technology giants will charge for it. Still very low cost compared to the cost of hiring staff. But it's just going to carry on going up and up and up. And in some senses, the more we get used to using it, the more productive we are in using it, and the more it manages us, the more we get used to it managing us. And it just keeps going up and up. Now, although the IQ of AI could well be throttled back by restrictions of materials and energy, with this kind of latency of humans accepting and getting on with an AI manager, or whatever you want to call it, that might not suffer such a reduction of exponential growth. So it might just keep going up. Okay. And this is the bit where, if I could draw it, I'm going to change colour. Hang on. So if we can imagine employment is running at the same sort of, that's not red. Hang on. So employment is running, pretty much as long as employers want people. Employment is going to sort of run sort of along these lines here, and then with the introduction of AI, it will start to sort of tail off quite rapidly as people are replaced with AI. and it will sort of mellow out. It will go along probably for a long while like this, and then at some point in the future, next say just before 2030 to make this graph easily, and robotics becomes more as useful and as productive as human beings, then you might find it goes down even more. Okay, so this is the sort of the employment curve. This is not to scale. It may not be as dramatic by this, but you can easily imagine 10 or 20% of people that have got jobs now working as managers or admin could all lose their jobs over a space of a few years before 2030. And it's really down to governments as to how do you tackle that? How do you manage that? Because this has happened before with various other industrial revolutions where a bit of farm machinery could replace 8 farm labourers. The same sort of thing happened. And if I can just change colour again, let's go for blue. Actual unemployment may go up again due to sort of government initiatives coming up with more types of work that are more physical, like sort of more health care workers, more teachers, things that would be difficult to replace by AI or robots. So it's not, but it would be a shock to the system. Now, for business, of course, their profits are pretty much going along the lines of this curve. So businesses will be fine, and eventually you'd hope that money would find its way back into the general economy as rich directors spend money on boats and jets and everything else. Eventually that money finds its way back into the economy, but it can take a long time as that extra money can sit in investments instead rather than being spent. An old adage is you can give £20 to a poor man and he'll spend it the same day. You can give £20 to a rich man and he'll invest it over a period of many years. So it gives you some idea. If the money's been concentrated into the wealthy, it may get tied up in investments as opposed to being ploughed back into the general economy. Right, we're gonna leave that now. I'm going to go back to the ABR and just transition back. So I'm back here now. I hope you found that informative. Right, so where are we? So we touched upon the positive and negative effects of AI on your business, where you can exploit it, where it can be a disadvantage. For example, if your businesses are reliant on middle management and admin staff spending money, then if they're out of work, they're going to cut back their spending, and your business could be hit hard by that. So that's something to sort of bear in mind. There's swings and roundabouts, and depending whether you're a swinger or a roundabouter, that money can be tied up in investments for many years and may not come back out into the economy until 10 years down the line. So so that's really what I wanted to cover today. There is a tantalising possibility, and I'm going to touch upon this in next week's episode, called quantum marketing. As AI becomes more reliant on quantum computing, which at the moment it isn't. It doesn't need quantum computing at all. But as our technology improves, so AI will become more and more available, or be available to use quantum computing. So the very tantalising prospect of AI using quantum computing can also mean that AI could, and it could probably train itself on this matter, is how to utilise the wider quantum entanglement network that exists, or now we're discovering exists, throughout the whole universe. So there is a possibility, and I'm just putting it out there now, that super intelligent quantum-powered AI could, in fact, integrate itself with other quantum super AIs anywhere in the universe, potentially, and be able to communicate with them instantly and learn from them as well. And of course, the danger is that you have sort of a cosmic super intelligent AI, which would become very close to what most people consider God to be. So just be careful what you wish for when you want AI to improve. You may be seeing a rise of a super omnipotent God which, because we're just discovering that humans have quantum capabilities as well, in our heads there's a very slim but possible chance of a super omnipotent quantum computer being able to talk to you directly through some sort of what we would perceive as being telepathy. And that is going to be a very exciting and very, very frightening future if that comes about. As I say, if you're a cup half full person, then the idea of being able to connect with a god AI would be close to divinity, and those whose cup is half empty will see it as a step towards sort of a hive mind where something super intelligent can control us. Maybe for our benefit, maybe not, but as soon as you lose control, it's difficult to get control back. So that really sort of wraps up my episode today. I thank you very much if you've got this far. I realise it's not for some the top of their priority list in terms of businesses, but I can assure you in the next few years it will be. And don't forget to like and subscribe. This channel's success is very much governed by YouTube algorithms, and if YouTube doesn't perceive as people watching this or liking or subscribing, then it will not try to promote the content. So it's very important that you like and subscribe if you want to see more of this, and also not to miss out on each week's closer look. Next week I'm going to be talking about quantum marketing, which is a very, very exciting new field of marketing that I may or may not have created in this episode. It's not a phrase I've heard of before, certainly not in the guise of what I mean by quantum marketing, which is the direct way of bringing benefits in terms of extra sales to your business using maybe just your thoughts and its ability to influence others. So we'll touch upon that next week. But in the meantime, goodbye, and thanks so much for listening. Goodbye.